Good morning, Ms. Wilson.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Morgan Wilson, and I am a registered nurse, and I work in an ER, about 7 years of experience as an ER nurse.
Okay. And are you from here in Calhoun, Georgia?
Originally, yes. I have lived in the Ringgold area for the last 10 years.
Okay. And how do you know my client, Carrie Timms?
We met early 2000s when we went to church together as children.
Okay. And so did y'all kind of become friends right away?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any particular shared interests that brought y'all together?
No, we were just around the same age, and me and her sister got along well, and we just went to the same church and activities together.
Okay. And so, and y'all, do you still attend that same church?
I do not know.
Okay. Do you know if Carrie does?
That one I do not know either.
Okay. And so how often would you say that you have seen her over the past few years?
Just occasionally, not much with COVID and everything that went on, seeing each other out. We talk quite often on the phone though.
Okay. So would you consider her a close friend?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you are a registered nurse. Can you tell me when you got into healthcare?
So as soon as I graduated high school, I became a CNA, and in 2015, I started working at the ER until I graduated nursing school, where I continued to work in the ER.
Okay. And is that where you work now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so as a nurse, are you a mandated reporter?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you see any evidence of child abuse, you are legally required to report it?
Yes, ma'am.
So just to be clear, you wouldn't come in here and make excuses for a friend of yours?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So do you know, had you and Carrie talked about being moms growing up?
Possibly not that I can recall, because it's been so long, and I've got 3 kids myself, so my memory's not the best.
Okay. How old are your kids?
I have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 12-week-old.
Okay. And you were able to, I know the scheduling has been a little odd for this trial, but you were able to get childcare and come in
Yes.
this morning. Thank you very much for that. All right. So do you remember when Carrie got pregnant with Jameson?
Yes.
Okay. So were you around her very much during that time?
Not too much. Like I said, COVID was going on. I believe I was about halfway through my pregnancy as well. I was a couple months behind her, and I did a lot of working and staying at home to try and prevent people from getting sick.
Okay. So that was an especially hard time for folks working in healthcare?
Yes.
Okay. But y'all were pregnant around the same time?
Yes. She had Jameson a couple months before I had my daughter.
Okay. And now I know you mentioned a lot of working and staying home, but did y'all have the chance to visit in person during that time?
Not in person, but we did FaceTime.
Okay. So was that pretty common that y'all would FaceTime to?
Yeah.
To
Anytime she had questions about the baby or anything, we would talk about it, and she would FaceTime me.
Okay. And because you had already had one of your children by then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you had a little bit more mom experience?
Yes, ma'am.
And so how would you characterize your friend Carrie's demeanor during that time, you know, while she was pregnant and as a brand new mom to Jameson?
Up until, he started having his symptoms, she loved every bit of it, it seemed like. Very happy. I believe she had had a rough pregnancy, and I had too, when we had talked about that, but she loved every minute. Had plenty of pictures of them, always seemed very, very loving and happy to be a mother.
Okay. And you mentioned she had a rough pregnancy. From your observations on your FaceTime calls, what did that entail?
Just not feeling well. I believe we both had some problems with, I may have had more severe hyperemesis, but I believe she was sick a good bit and didn't feel good, and everything was pregnancy's just rough all the way around.
Okay. And when you say hyperemesis, is that throwing up a lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you know if she was taking any medications for nausea or blood pressure? And if you don't, I'm not asking you to speculate.
That I do not know.
Okay. But that was something that y'all talked about?
Yes, I gave kind of my view, because I've had 3 hyperemesis pregnancies, so I kind of told what I had done and went through with the nausea and the vomiting.
Okay. All right. And so after Jameson was born in October, you had a fairly new baby yourself at the time.
I was still a couple months behind her. I had her in January.
You were behind her,
Yeah.
sorry. Now, did you ever have occasion to see her husband, Brady Timms, while y'all were FaceTiming?
He was on the day that she called me whenever she was worried about Jameson. He was on the phone.
Okay. So let's talk about this day that she called you with. Can you tell us what happened when she called you with some specific concerns about Jameson?
Yeah, so we FaceTime, and she was very upset. There was some spots. It kind of looked like bruising, but really not. It reminded me more of a vitamin deficiency or possibly even like a leukemia type thing. And she kind of explained that they kind of popped up out of nowhere, and she was very concerned, and she showed me him kind of head to toe, and I looked and I asked her some, basic questions, and at that point I kind of told her, worst case scenario, it could be something as serious as cancer. It seemed maybe more like a vitamin deficiency or like some kind of bleeding disorder. But I did recommend her take him to the hospital to get seen if she couldn't get in with her pediatrician quickly.
Okay. Do you remember about when this FaceTime call was?
I want to say it was in the afternoon. I can't quite remember. It was in November, but I don't remember the exact date or time.
Okay. So it was November 2021? Mm-hmm. And how would you describe Carrie's demeanor during this call when she's calling you to get your opinion on what's going on with her baby?
She was very upset, very, very concerned, very receptive to hearing what I had to say, and took it very seriously, and talked to me about, all the possibilities. And while she was upset, she comprehended she needed to treat him as quick as possible.
Okay. And now, has Carrie always, I guess, how would you describe Carrie's general manner, even when she wasn't on this FaceTime call? Like, is she a more anxious person? Is she, somebody who's very detail oriented? How would you describe her?
I wouldn't say she was too overly anxious. I struggle with anxiety myself. I feel like it's pretty baseline with children, and being a first-time mom, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary before she had her son. Maybe just a little anxiety here and there, but nothing that I would think was like crazy or worrisome. She doesn't focus on herself. If I ever called her, even while she was in a crisis for herself, she would still, be able to prioritize other people in other situations.
Okay. And so, you did tell her then, this actually does look serious. This is not just a new mom being anxious.
Correct.
Okay. And you said, did you see Brady Timms on that call as well?
Oh, yeah, he was in the background while I was on the phone with her.
Okay. And how did his demeanor seem, if you could tell from the
I
video
didn't
call?
see too much, but he looked like he was pretty worried, stressed out.
And so the advice that you gave to Carrie was?
If she could get in to see her pediatrician, sometimes they can't see you for a couple of days. If she could get into him immediately, I'd go see them. If not, go to the hospital. And I believe I recommended either T.C. Thompson's or O.C.G.A.
Okay. And so do you know if she ended up taking her child in?
She did. I believe it was to O.C.G.A. I can't quite recall, but she did tell me that she took him in. And we kind of went over some of the results over the next couple of days. And I kind of explained the lab work and stuff to her in layman's term.
Okay. And did she have her binder of medical information yet?
Yeah, she had started compiling her paperwork and keeping it in a small binder at the time.
Okay. And was there anything that you observed about her demeanor after that visit to the hospital that changed or was different about the way she was interacting with Jameson?
No, absolutely not. And before she went to the hospital, I did inform her, that the CPS case was a possibility. And, I told her personally, if she was my patient, I would not report it, but I can't testify to the way other people report things. And I made her very clear it was a very good possibility. She absolutely did not care. She wanted to make sure he was okay. So she was aware of the potentials going in.
Okay. And you bringing that up, that didn't seem to make her change her mind and
No.
say, oh, no, I don't want to bring him in?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
She wanted to make sure he got seen quickly.
And did you learn anything about any blood work being lost or any labs being missing from the?
I recall, I believe, some x-rays or something had been misread or not presented correctly. And some of the lab work, I believe, had been delayed to be demonstrated to her, because she did try to update me and, ask questions as things went on. And I do remember there was some inconsistencies, it seemed like.
Okay. And do you remember her complaining to you about the cleanliness of the room they went to at Erlanger?
She sent me pictures. It was disgusting.
Okay. So you saw photographs that they had
Yes.
taken during their visit?
Yes.
And was it like mold and?
It looked like it hadn't been cleaned, and it looked like it hadn't been updated in quite some time, and possibly not cleaned between the last patient.
Okay. And that would be a concern for anybody who's worried about immune stuff
Yes.
or anything with their kids. Okay. All right. How about, did you talk to her before a visit to the pediatrician in January of 2022?
Yeah, I believe so. We talked multiple times before his visits.
Okay. Did she ever FaceTime you about any other concerns that she had about Jameson?
No, just the bruising. That one day was really the problems we had talked about.
Okay. And so did you physically see Jameson at all during this time of, November to January?
He had been on FaceTime, but I hadn't done a full head to toe assessment of him besides that first time.
And did you see anything in your FaceTiming with Carrie and Jameson that concerned you about his physical condition?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did he seem to be in distress or flinchy or?
Absolutely not.
From what you could observe of his interactions with his parents, was there anything that concerned you about a safety risk?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And so, did you have any contact with Carrie and Brady during the time that they were visiting with Dr. Sarah Harbin Pickett, the pediatrician, and taking Jameson down to CHOA?
Yes, the showing me the labs and what was being said, all that continued during that time.
Okay. So Carrie was pretty communicative with
Yes.
you? Did it ever seem like she was concealing anything or hiding anything or being dishonest with you?
Absolutely not.
And have you stayed in contact with Carrie over the past 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any occasions to observe her interacting with her son Jameson?
Unfortunately, I have not.
Okay. Now, do you have any concerns about the safety of Jameson Timms from his parents, Carrie and Brady?
Absolutely not. I would drop my kids off to them right now.
And you're aware of the allegations that are against them, that the reason that we're here in court today, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is Carrie the kind of person who would make excuses if somebody else hurt her baby?
No, because we talked about the possibility of him being in the care of someone else or anybody else changing his diaper too roughly. Everything. We went over everything, and there was no excuses.
Okay. Have you ever, we talked a little bit about the anxiety. Have you ever had any concerns that Carrie might have accidentally done something to
No.
hurt her baby or Brady?
No.
And in your work, have you seen cases of child abuse?
Yes, multiple times.
Okay. And sometimes they can be surprising, right?
Yes, sometimes, but there's typically a pretty consistent pattern of, how they act and present.
And what is that pattern that you have noticed?
Lying, things not matching, not consistent stories, multiple ER visits with, excuses that do not match the injuries at all, or, just avoiding until the child is so sick that they can't bring them in, avoid bringing them in.
And so I guess in your experience, people have come up with excuses.
Yes.
Like when they were asked what could have happened to cause these injuries, they would come up with something. Like,
yes, usually stuff that doesn't match, the injuries that you see.
Okay. Did you ever see or hear Carrie coming up with any excuses?
No.
Okay. Do you think Carrie Timms ever hurt her baby?
No.
Do you think Brady Timms ever hurt their baby?
No.
Okay. Do you have any doubt in your mind about that at all?
No.
Would you be here testifying on Carrie's behalf if you did?
No. If I would have thought there was abuse, I would have reported it the first day.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Wilson. I don't have any additional questions for you. The state may have a few for
Okay.
you.
Ms. Wall, any questions of this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ms. Wilson.
Good morning.
So what specifically was it about what you saw and observed about Jamison in November that you thought would lead to a CPS report?
Well, I've seen where unexplained bruisings and things like that can get reported, even if there is, consistent stories with it. And I have seen a lot of providers to err on the side of caution and report it, even if they didn't truly think it was abuse, versus, being 1,000% sure and reporting it. They like to err on the side of caution.
Okay. And so I know you testified that you are a nurse in the ER, and so you have encountered people that you suspect to have committed child abuse?
Yes, I have made reports, both APS and CPS cases before.
Okay, do they always make excuses?
Most of the time, yes.
And so you said that you have spoken, I guess you know about the allegations in this case, right?
Yes.
Do you also know about the defenses in this case?
From what I've heard, nothing really sounds too convincing on my part, if that makes sense. Her whole story kind of, the allegations I've seen just aren't consistent with the things that I've seen.
Okay, but I guess my question is, you brought up vitamin deficiency. Have you heard about that as a defense in this case?
No. Or are you talking about on her behalf?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe, possibly, I believe so. I can't recall what all they have brought up before.
Okay, but you have been told about some of those things that they've brought up?
Yes, Ehlers-Danlos and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And so in your conversations with Carrie, did she, following, I guess, the birth of Jamison, did she talk to you about having symptoms of postpartum depression?
Not that I can recall. If she were depressed, it didn't seem very obvious.
Would it surprise you that she told medical professionals that she was having symptoms of that?
No, a lot of newborn mothers have it.
She also talked to you about Jameson being colicky.
She had talked about that before.
And so you have not heard all of the testimony in this case, correct?
No.
And you have not heard all of the facts in this case, right?
I have not heard anything inside this courtroom since the case has been going on.
Okay. And I guess you have not been with the defendants in this case. You weren't with them the entire time, day and night,
No.
from November.
No.
At any time, I guess, really.
Yeah,
but
no.
but specifically from November of 2021 through January of 2022.
No.
All right. If I have just one moment. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Hood, any questions of this witness?
Judge, Ms. Bernard asked all the questions that I was going to ask, so no additional questions.
Thank you. Ms. Bernard, anything else of this witness?
It just, very briefly, you mentioned that there was the possibility that with the markings you saw of some kind of connective tissue disorder.
Yeah, multiple genetic diseases, vitamin deficiencies, and blood disorders came to mind whenever I saw him because it didn't look like trauma-induced bruising.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you for your time, Ms. Wilson.
You're welcome.
Ms. Law, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, thank you for coming.
Thank you.